In the heart of Eastern Europe, behind the Iron Curtain, there was a man who believed he was destined to shape history. His name was Nicolae Ceaușescu, a peasant boy who rose to absolute power and ruled Romania with an iron fist for nearly a quarter of a century. To his supporters, he was a visionary. To his people, he became a nightmare. This is the story of how one man built a dictatorship, created a cult around himself, and fell in the most dramatic way imaginable. Nicolae Ceaușescu was born in 1918 in the small village of Scornicești. He was one of 10 children in a poor peasant family. Life was harsh. The First World War had left the country broken, and opportunity was scarce. At the age of 11, Ceaușescu left home for Bucharest. He worked as a shoemaker's apprentice, a shy, stubborn boy who could barely read or write. But something burned inside him, a desire for power, for recognition. In the capital, he discovered the underground communist movement, banned by the monarchy. He joined it, spreading propaganda, organizing protests, and soon he was arrested. Prison became his political university. Behind bars, he met other revolutionaries, including Gheorghe Gheorghiu Dej, who would later lead communist Romania. When the Second World War ended and Soviet troops occupied the country, the communists took control. Ceaușescu's loyalty and discipline impressed his superiors. Step by step, he climbed through the party ranks. In 1965, when Gheorghiu Dej died, Ceaușescu, quiet, seemingly obedient, was chosen as the new leader. No one realized that this choice would change Romania forever. At first, Nicolae Ceaușescu seemed different. He distanced himself from Moscow, daring to carve an independent path. In 1968, when the Soviet Union invaded Czechoslovakia, Ceaușescu shocked the world by condemning the invasion. Overnight, he became a hero in the West. Foreign media called him the rebel communist. Presidents and prime ministers welcomed him with red carpets. He met Queen Elizabeth II in London. He toured Paris, Beijing, even Washington, D.C., where President Richard Nixon praised him for his courage. Western loans and aid flowed into Romania. The dream of modernization began. Romania industrialized at a staggering pace. Thousands of factories rose from the ground. Ceaușescu promised prosperity, and for a while, people believed him. But power, once tasted, is never enough. As his rule continued, Ceaușescu began to see himself not just as a leader, but as the father of the nation. His speeches filled every radio. His portraits covered every wall. His wife, Elena, was elevated to the mother of the nation, a scientist, a genius, at least according to state propaganda. The regime built a personality cult unmatched in Europe. Ceaușescu was called the genius of the Carpathians, the Danube of thought. But behind the slogans and songs lay a system built on fear. The secret police, the Securitate, had ears everywhere. Millions were spied on, interrogated, or imprisoned for a joke, a rumor, or a complaint. Citizens learned to trust no one, not even their own family. Meanwhile, Ceaușescu embarked on his grandest project, the rebuilding of Bucharest. Entire neighborhoods were demolished to make way for a colossal palace, the People's House. It became one of the largest buildings in the world, second only to the Pentagon. While millions lived without heating or food, The dictator built his marble dream. By the 1980s, Romania had become a nation of silence, obedient, impoverished, and afraid. By the end of the 1980s, Ceaușescu's dream was collapsing. Determined to repay all foreign debt, he forced the nation into austerity. Food, fuel, electricity, all rationed. The lights went out. People shivered in the dark. Ceaușescu toured the country, praising his own achievements, while the people starved. He had become a man trapped in his own illusion. In December 1989, the first sparks of rebellion ignited in Timișoara. Protests erupted after the attempted eviction of a dissident pastor. The army opened fire. Dozens were killed. But instead of fear, it sparked fury. Within days, the revolution spread to Bucharest. On December 21st, Ceaușescu stood before a massive rally, meant to display his power. For the first time, the crowd booed him. His face froze, his voice trembled, the broadcast was cut, and the regime began to crumble. Ceaușescu and his wife fled by helicopter, but they wouldn't get far. Captured by the army, they were put on trial on Christmas Day, 1989. The proceedings lasted less than an hour. They were accused of genocide, corruption, and destroying the nation. Moments later, the sentence was carried out. The era of Nicolae Ceaușescu had ended in blood and confusion. From a poor village boy to an absolute ruler, Ceaușescu's life was a journey from hope to hubris. He built monuments to his own greatness, only to be buried beneath their shadow. In the end, his fall was not just the end of a man, but the rebirth of a nation. Romania's revolution was one of the last and bloodiest in Eastern Europe, and its lessons remain timeless. Freedom, once lost, is never easily regained. This was the Nicolae Ceaușescu, the rise and fall of Romania's last communist dictator. You are watching Scroll Off Time. Subscribe and keep the past alive.